Hey race fans, and welcome to
Formula
It's race week finally, and to do a bit of a refresher from the first part of the season, I'm going through driver ratings to get a gauge on how their form has been to how we are going to start the chaotic second part of the season. The top 5 gets pretty spicy, so stick around for that. I'm not going to grade it in the school system of A's through to F's because that's going to give me flashbacks and we aren't at school anymore. If you are, then you'll appreciate me giving you a break on that front. What I will be doing is just a straight 21st to 1st, and as always, I'm sure to get some wrong, so please be gentle in the comments section. And this gets hard straight away because I was going to put Doohan last, but having looked back over his short stint and comparing it to how Colapinto has been going, then it gets complicated really quickly. Franco started off in the worst way in Imola when Flavio gave him the impossible task of jumping straight into a new car with no pre-season and asked him to, quote, be fast, don't crash, and score points. Okay then Flav, you don't expect much, hey? I mean, Alpine or say Briatore, did pay $20 million to Williams to have Colapinto for 5 years, and it doesn't even look like he will last 12 months. I'm not sure if he is still stuck in the 90s, but to expect that from a rookie is pretty out there. When you look back at Franco's Williams stint, he was very impressive, but did have a few silly crashes, like Brazil trying to catch up to the safety car, or in Las Vegas just turning in too early and hitting the barriers. He was very fast, and it helped that he looks like Senna's long lost cousin, so there was high expectations. No thanks to Flav. When it came into Alpine to sort of replicate that or even do better again but with no prep, it's hard to grade him, so I'm putting Doohan last. Jack did well against an established teammate in Pierre Gasly, but a few silly crashes like the last lap in China, the Suzuka DRS trick which didn't work out too well, and the silly bingle on the first lap in Miami, but he was starting to show promise. Too bad Colapinto showed Flavio the truckload of cash out the back. So with Doohan in 21st and Franco in 20th, we come onto the cursed second Red Bull seat, and who has done a worse job in it? If you asked me before Austria, I would have said Lawson has had a disaster of a season and won't be here next year. But since his point scoring spree, he's looking a lot more solid. Tsunoda is in his 5th season and has been in the Red Bull family from the start, so I would have expected him to gel a lot better, especially since the Abu Dhabi test last year. Yuki was stating how the car suits his style and he thought he would be a good fit for the RB22. But then Lawson got promoted over him, which would have been a bit of a low blow. Yuki also started out so promising in the Japanese practice session where he was only around a 10th off of Max, but it has not gotten any better from there, and his scary crash at Imola has obviously dented his confidence. I really hope he can turn things around from Zandvoort because at the moment it looks like he may not have been here next year under the Horner reign. But with Laurent coming in and being a huge fan of Yuki, all it would need is a few good performances and then we can have the little warrior and the Jason Statham fan for a 6th season in F1. As for the grading, I think it has to be Tsunoda in 19th and Lawson in 18th. Now we get on to our favourite Nepo driver, Mr. Lancelot Strolovich. And I was actually getting worried at the start of the season that he had learnt how to drive fast, as he was scoring points and making Alonso look like his meme of Alonso slow. But then he had a brain fart and kicked back into being bang average again, and sometimes just absolutely nowhere, while Fernando was showing him where the AMR 25 can be if you have someone competent driving it. Let's not forget his supposed Spain meltdown after qualifying more than half a second off his teammate and destroying the garage and hurting his hand and missing the race entirely. For this reason, it's pretty simple to put him at 17th, and if not for his decent start to the season, he would be a forgettable 21st. This next one is very surprising for me, but it has to be the smooth operator that has had not so smooth start with Williams. This is not to say that I expected him to destroy Albon, because we all know Alex is a quality driver, and I was excited for this pairing to see how we'd stack up against Carlos, but I didn't expect it to be blown out quite this much. He still looks a bit lost in how to get the most out of the FW47, especially over one lap, and if not for a few unlucky DNFs for Alex, then it would be looking a lot worse for Sainz, and that's why I think maybe he is a bit lucky to be 16th, but I'm also hoping for more after the break. Next up is Ocon, and I really thought that he would get along well with the Haas style of a car, and being free from the French connection in Alpine, the controlling Flavio, and his French nemesis in Gasly, but something hasn't clicked yet. He had a few good races early on, but then has just been a bit meh, and kind of overshadowed by his rookie teammate for a lot of the season, which shouldn't be happening for someone as seasoned as Esti, so it's 15th for me. This one was hard for me because I wanted to believe the pre-season hype, and it was looking like a decent start to the season for Antonelli, but since the highs of Miami and Canada, it went straight down from there. It's almost gone the wrong way around, as he was fast from the start in a wet and tricky Australia, all the way to Miami sprint pole and a good main race. Then it has gone wrong since, and only Canada saved him from having a terrible run all the way up to 10th in Hungary to end his first part of this season. We all know he has talent, and to be fair, the Mercedes suspension upgrade in Imola was actually a downgrade and made the car more unstable, which dropped his confidence, but hopefully since they have reverted back to the previous spec, he gets his mojo back and can be up the front a bit more, but it's got to be 14th. Another rookie having a shaky season is Ollie, who has great potential but just silly mistakes, which I guess you can call rookie mistakes, but crashing in the pit lane at Silverstone is just not something you should be doing, and has really tarnished the start of his career after making a huge splash in Saudi last year. He has been giving Ocon a hard time most race weekends and out-qualifying him quite often, so there's a lot of promise there, and I hope he can put it all together and kickstart this next chapter in what will hopefully be a long career with the Ferrari family, but for now it's 13th with signs of some brilliance to come. So this is where it starts getting very tricky, and I think based on recency bias, Bortoleto would be a lot further up, but his start to the season wasn't spectacular, which I do put down to the Sauber having a hangover from being a green wheelie bin for so long, and also down to Gabby just slowly working his way into the season. Then it seems after Spain and the technical regulations around the front wing, the green machine started to sober up and actually look like an F1 car. This might have also been linked to Wheatley joining, which definitely had a positive effect on pit stops. But from Spain onwards, both drivers were able to compete, and Gabby's drives in Austria and especially Hungary were just outstanding. And he would be the driver most upset with the summer break. So for me, it's a very, very solid 12th, but these are such tight margins now, and he's fighting with some good company. I have had to toss up between the two veterans now, and it's only down to his slow start that I'm picking Alonso as my 11 and Hamilton as 10th. I know, judging from the last couple of races, a certain driver saying he is useless and should be replaced, you would think Alonso would be higher up, but he was pointless, actually as in didn't score points. For the first 10 races and up until Hungary, Hamilton was the only driver other than Piastri to score points in every race this season, and was clawing back some qualifying results before his horrid Spa qualifying, and only just missing out on Q3 in Belgium. The two old dogs still can learn some new tricks in this next part of the season, where experience will pay off with triple headers coming, so I'm hoping for more starting in the Netherlands. Breaking into the top 10 in 9th is Hadjar, and he has been hard to judge. We all saw his debut in Australia, but then he bounced back like a bowling ball returning after a strike, which is kind of what his car did to the Aussie barriers. He wasn't really rated that highly coming into F1, and to have a start like that is a punch in the guts. But Anthony Hamilton telling him not to worry about it and to prove everyone why he's in F1 was just what he needed from his idol's dad, and he kicked off his season the proper way just 2 races later in Japan, with a great qualifying and a P8 in the race. From there, he has had a string of points finishes, and another near miss in Hungary will leave him hungry to get back. Sorry, that's the last time I'll do that, and I'll go sit in the corner now as punishment. Pierre Gasly is in 8th, And that's probably a bit harsh considering we know Alpine to be by far the worst car on the grid, and he has squeezed 20 points out of it and all of Alpine's points so far. He has been showing why he was kept by Flavio and Ollie Oakes. Oh, yeah, remember him? And I hope there is some upgrades coming, although I think they have locked down on 26 now. But because Gasly deserves a better car to fight for points and positions. Now, I'm sure the Hulk should be higher up for being able to kick that kick Sauber to places it shouldn't be. But pre-Spain wasn't fantastic, although as I said with Gabby, that car had a slow start to the year before the front wing regs levelled the playing field a bit and Nico could fight in the mid-pack more often. So an excellent season so far, and a P7 is well deserved. Albon, he has been amazing this year, and I understand why Tomo is so happy all the time, because if not for a run of engine power unit failures, especially when running P6 in Austria, he could be right up the standings and more importantly, could be solidifying Williams as 5th best team this year. He was tipped to be demolished by Sainz, and it kind of turns out that Alex is doing that to Carlos, and to get 54 points on his own when Williams only scored 17 points all last season is just nuts. So that's why he's ranked 6th, and it's criminal that he isn't higher if not for reliability issues. Okay, into top 5 territory, and this could have actually been equal 2nd or 1st for some of these drivers, but I need to put them somewhere, so here we go. And in 5th, and kind of down to his Spain antics and being off the podium quite an unusual amount of times this season, it's Max. I know he was dragging that RB22 to places it doesn't belong, but at the same time, he hasn't been on the podium since Canada, and we all remember what he did the race before that, which is just not on, and he also knows that. As I said, this could be equal 2nd or maybe even 1st, but at this stage of the season, I need to see some more fight from him, as he has given up on title hopes, and it seems that has affected his performance, or that could just be coincidence, but we'll see. In 4th, and actually luckily not to be lower, is Lando, as he has had the best car the whole season so far, and should be wiping the floor with Piastri, but is only just hanging on, and if not for a few results this year, could be out of the title fight too. He loves a bottle off the line, and a decent mistake or two like Saudi quali and Canada race. He just needs to iron these out, because I only see Oscar getting more determined and feisty the more the season goes on. If we want to see this decided in Abu Dhabi, then Lando needs to deliver a blow at Zandvoort, something similar to last year. On the podium we have Leclerc, and only due to not really firing consistently enough, but still doing things in the SF25 that shouldn't be possible, like pole at Hungary against the dominant McLarens. He has had a silly slip up in Miami Sprint, and the race strategy in Silverstone really dug him a hole for that race, but other than that he's been incredible, and given that Ferrari decided to change 99% of their car for some unknown reason, Charles has still brought it to 5 podiums and been thereabouts for the rest of the races, so well done, and I'm sure Ferrari's first win this season is coming, maybe with a Monza special. Okay, it all comes down to this, and I can't really put anyone else first, so of course it's Oscar Piastri, which leaves Woody in a very impressive second. For Russell to do what he is doing in the W16 is very respectable, and I can't really fault his season, apart from maybe the strategy at Silverstone, but Leclerc played a similar move, and it was a gamble that could have made both of them look like heroes, but it went south, and that's really the only blip in Russell's season. There was the rogue move at Monaco for cutting the chicane and just taking the penalty anyway, but I would do exactly the same to avoid falling asleep at that race. As for Oscar, he was only really off the pace in Canada, but still managed a 4th, despite being rammed up the rear by Norris, and then only really the poor stewarding of the Silverstone restart, which was only due to the safety car being brought in 3 corners from the end of the lap, which didn't leave him enough time to prep his restart. And it's a similar move he pulled the previous restart. It's kind of the same tactics Russell pulled in Canada, and the same thing Piastri did in the Spain restart. So if the FIA didn't like it, they should have warned him first. But anyway, that doesn't take away from the amazing season he has had. We also have to consider it's only his third season and Lando's seventh. So to be battling like this for a title and leading quite comfortably and almost putting it out of reach if not for a few things playing out differently, I think it's so impressive, and the way he's gone about his season, never having ups and downs, just staying consistent, is scary if he decides to really turn it on for the second stage of this season. Well, there is my driver ratings for the first part of 25, and I hope my wheel knowledge is not too far off, but if it is, please feel free to give me your ratings in the comments, and I'll accept defeat within reason. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.